score of 8 out of 9 points. So thank you very much for raising the heat. And I would like to introduce the Marshall Chester Vice President, Tom Malloy.
Thank you. I want to thank you all for coming. I'm not going to spend a lot of time throughout the. I just want to say that we're very, very happy that Robert is here to give this lecture. This New York International was one of the most strongest tournaments in New York in a very long time, and we're very happy that anyone was able to get a GM norm here or have any norms at all. It's a very, very big thing. It's even though there seems to be a lot. You would think it would be easier to get a GM norm in America, but actually it's very difficult. It's a very difficult thing. And I just want you to understand what an accomplishment he actually did in this tournament. As an IM, a lot of times when people get their norms, you'll see the winners of the tournament way up here, and then some guy will just finally get a GM norm. He's in the middle. To win the tournament as you're getting a GM norm, and even to beat Grandmasters. I know as an average player, we all have the dream that one day we'll play some perfect game and we might win a single game, but to do as well as he did in this particular tournament, he scored 8 out of 9, won the tournament with 7 wins and 2 draws. He faced 5 Grandmasters and scored 4.5 points, but it's really an extraordinary accomplishment. He's really to be commended. He had a FIDE performance rating of 2761, which is really extraordinary. The year before, Jan Elvis and Hari Krishna shared this tournament, so becoming a world-class tournament with the world-class Grandmasters. His accomplishments should really be very highly regarded. I don't know Robert personally. I will tell us a little bit about his experience at the tournament and a little bit about himself. So we welcome Robert Hungaski.
Before we get started, I guess I'd just like to thank everybody that came today. It's certainly not an ideal situation because of the weather, so those who made it out here, I really appreciate it. And also I wanted to thank you guys at the Marshall, first of all, for organizing the New York International. It would have been hard to win it if it was never held, so thank you for that. And also for this evening. It's really not every day that I get institutions such as this one honoring me. So thank you very much. So what I was thinking I would do today is obviously talk about the tournament and go over a few games. But if I'm going to talk about the New York International, I think I need to maybe step back a couple of weeks and mention the Chicago Open, which I played previously. Now, usually throughout the year, I'm a little bit busy with college studies and whatnot, so I had planned a very rigid schedule of 4 or 5 big tournaments that I wanted to concentrate on and do as best I could. And the first of those was the Chicago Open. Now this tournament was important for me because it really showed the good and the bad of my game, in the sense that it showed me what my main weaknesses were, and actually when my game was working as I wanted it to, what I could do. So I was very close to achieving a Grandmaster norm in Chicago. I actually needed 1 point out of my last 2 games. Unfortunately, I managed to lose both of those games, so that didn't happen. But in losing those 2 games, I got a very clear message of what I needed to improve in order to, the next time actually get that needed result. So I'd like to maybe go over one of the Chicago games just very quickly and point out, as I'll mention, there's really 3 or 4 big points that I would highlight as crucial to my result in the New York International. So,
Just 1 second, please.
yeah, no problem. Did you get the email?
Yeah, we can set it up. It's, I get it.
Okay, so
There we go.
can everybody hear me okay? This pitch? Yes? So Also, I would say I'm lazy when it comes to studying chess, but I certainly know how to pick the areas I'm interested in. And openings hasn't really been one of them. So that was one of the main points that I needed to work on for New York. And I did a little bit of work for Chicago. And one of the 3 points I wanted to mention, well, the first one is one here my coach, William Lombardy, insisted on since we began our association some 5 years ago. And that is to play out every single game. Just never take a draw, and, unless, of course, it's a repetition, threefold repetition, or if it's a theoretically drawn position. But otherwise, every game needs to be played out, and no draw offers that are seemingly without reason to be accepted or offered, for that matter. So that much was clear for Chicago and for the rest of the summer. My second goal was to avoid, at all costs, any kind of preparation that my opponent might have for me, which is closely related to the third point, which was avoid time trouble. So if I fall into some preparation by my opponent, it'd be a good bet that I'm going to fall behind on the clock. I'm going to get pressured on time, and I'm going to start making mistakes because of it. And also, I'm not a very big fan of blitz, especially when I'm the one for 2 minutes and my opponent has a half hour. So that was definitely something to be avoided. So I just want to go over okay, the Hungaski game was fairly important. Okay. This game was important because I think it highlighted some of the things that I was doing right up to that point. As far as the draw offer goes, it was irrelevant because nobody offered a draw at any point, so that was never an issue. But as far as the opening goes, I thought it was a good game to show because I knew Georgi was very good at openings. I mean, he's known for being very studious and for, especially as white, seldom losing any games and scoring fairly well against even higher rated opposition than him. It was already hard to come by. So my number one goal in this game was to surprise him in the opening as quickly as I could, and get a sort of a double-edged position, because once Georgi gets a hold of you positionally, you can be sure you're in for a tough ride. So I had played against him the previous year. It was also a Benoni, and I got a fairly good position, but it was a racket game. I believe it was maybe game 30 or game 40, and I got a good position out of the opening. It was a main line, but I knew Georgi had prepared something against it, so there was no chance I was going to repeat that. So I chose the snake Benoni, bishop d6 line, which is really not a very common choice these days, especially against top opposition. And it's really the main reason why I chose it. I think it's a heavily underrated weapon, and it also has a psychological effect, because when an opening is underestimated, people tend to assume an obligation to refute it or to push harder than they should to get an advantage. And that's exactly what I was looking for Georgi to do here, because I wanted to draw him out of his comfort zone, which is positional play. So here, this is pretty much a standard position for the snake. I mean, many people prefer to play g3, bishop g2, and the ideas are very similar. And for those that are well prepared with white, they will know that the main point of white's strategy here is to meet the retreat of the bishop to c7 with a quick d6. So if I were to play bishop c7, and white just played normal moves like bishop e2, d6, castles, h3, bishop a5. This is the typical position that that black would be very happy to achieve, because now black's idea is fairly simple. To play rook b8, maybe knight f8, knight g6, and followed by h6. And it's all it seems very natural for black. If there are a few weaknesses, straightforward plan, then a good chance that black will get the bishop there. So this was probably my ideal situation, but I knew by this point that it was never going to happen, and Georgi was just aching to play this d6 move on me and torture me for a couple hours. So the point being that against bishop c7, d6, bishop a5, at first sight the d6 pawn might look somewhat weak, but with a deeper glance at the position, it becomes very hard to justify black's setup given the bad situation of the bishop on c8 and the queen side overall. After bishop c4, I mean, white playing a good blockade there. And of course, if I get, say, an ideal position like knight b4, bishop b7, c4, bishop c5, a d3, and d4, all of black's pieces are just thrusting forward, and it's not looking good for white. So, okay, rook e1, bishop b7, and actually here queen f7 was the right move. Bishop b7 is, I think, technically a blunder, because now after d4, all my light squares become very weak. And the point is that I had missed this queen b3 move, which is completely devastating. So I went from a position that was, I would say, clearly better for black, to one that I would be very lucky not to lose now. And after queen b3, queen c7, my light squares are in total disarray. And I was talking to Georgi after the game and asked him why in this position he didn't play knight d6, which seems like a tremendous move. I mean, he's threatening rook takes e5 and knight f7. Let's take a look at that. So rook takes e5. The arrows. Yeah. So rook takes e5 is a real problem here. So I probably have to play rook f8 and just hope for the best here. But
can you play rook d8?
Huh?
Can you play rook d8?
Rook d8, I think. I think I can go rook e5, can't I? And if rook takes d6,
Yeah,
queen d8. Yeah.
Because the queen's favorite second.
Yeah, I mean, I was very unhappy with how I handled that transition, and I couldn't consolidate my advantage. But here, he thought again, he had one of those huge things for maybe 20 or 30 minutes, and shaking his head, he traded queens. And after takes a5, and here I thought for a little bit, and I was wondering what he was planning, because in order to really trade queens and not pursue that middle game, which looks completely winning for white, there must be something serious. But I think after the game, Georgi told me he had blundered queen c6, when I think the fact is he had maybe blundered knight d6, not playing knight d6 there. Because after a5 takes this, it might not look so clear at first, but black might already be winning. Rook d8, knight c4. Could be two pawns balls, and black's two passers. So it wouldn't take long to promote. So